A rainy night, an abandoned industrial district on the city's forgotten edge. A figure moves through the shadows, too fluid, too fast, then stops cold. Fresh blood pools beneath a warehouse door. He steps closer and freezes. A female police officer lies crumpled against the brick wall, her tactical vest shredded by something with claws. Her radio sparks uselessly, static hissing into the rain. Damien Crowford drops to one knee beside her, his pale hand moving with impossible speed as he tears away the ruined vest. Deep claw marks across her chest. He recognizes the pattern immediately. Victor's signature. She's fading fast, eyes glazing. No pulse on the radio. No sirens in the distance. Just rain and darkness and death. He bites his own wrist without hesitation. A single dark drop wells up. He presses it to her lips and says in a voice that carries the weight of centuries, "You will not die tonight." 90 minutes later. City General Hospital. Intensive care unit. Captain Elena Reyes stands frozen outside the observation window, tablet trembling in her hands. The attending physician keeps repeating the same thing. "I don't understand, Captain. I don't understand." Officer Jada Maddox's wounds are closing before their eyes. Not healing, regenerating. Cellular reconstruction at a rate that defies every medical textbook. The lacerations that should have killed her are now barely pink scars. The lab results on Reyes's screen show an unknown biological compound in the bloodwork. Properties that shouldn't exist. A blood type that doesn't match any human classification. Who the hell treated her at the scene? Reyes whispers. "This isn't paramedic work. This is." She doesn't finish the sentence. She's seen this signature once before, 5 years ago, in a classified file marked Supernatural Liaison Protocol, Eyes Only. Damien Crowford. Appears to be 32 years old. Actually 312. He returns to his estate at dawn, a restored Gothic mansion in the historic district, the kind of place where iron gates keep the world at a careful distance. He moves through rooms filled with 3 centuries of collected history, Persian rugs, oil paintings, first edition books that museums would kill for. His staff knows not to disturb him during daylight hours. His business associates believe he's a reclusive private security consultant with night shift insomnia. His vampire court knows him as the king who's maintained the masquerade for longer than any ruler in recorded history. The kind of man who walks through shadows and decides who lives and who dies. The kind of man who still carries a silver pendant engraved with a name from 200 years ago, Yem, for all eternity. The kind of man who just broke his most sacred vow, never again involve a human in his world. He stands at the window, watching the sun rise over the city he's protected for 3 centuries, and wonders if saving Officer Jada Maddox will be his greatest act of mercy, or his most catastrophic mistake. The court convenes at midnight in the sublevel chambers, where chandeliers cast fractured light across marble columns older than the city itself. 23 vampires kneel as Damien descends the spiral staircase, each one a carefully selected member of his network, turned by him personally, bound by blood oath, held accountable for every human life in their territory. Victor Soren has made his move, Damien announces without preamble. He attacked a police officer 4 blocks from neutral ground, a declaration of war. Murmurs ripple through the assembly. A younger vampire, Marcus, turned only 60 years ago, speaks up. "Then we strike back, my lord. Show him the price of. We do nothing that exposes us." Damien's voice drops to a lethal calm. The masquerade holds. It always holds. Because it must. Because 2 centuries ago, he learned what happens when it doesn't. Later, alone in his private study, Damien pulls the pendant from beneath his shirt. The silver burns his skin, it always does, but he's never been able to put it away. Eleanor Marsh, 23 years old, dead at his feet while he stood paralyzed by silver chains, watching vampire hunters drive blessed stakes through her heart because she loved a monster and refused to recant. She'd been the daughter of Boston's most prominent physician, educated in her father's practice, unafraid of blood or death. When Damien revealed his nature during a chance encounter in her father's library, a moment of weakness, of desperate loneliness after a century of isolation, she hadn't screamed. She'd touched his face and said, "How lonely you must be." 3 months later, the hunters came. They tortured her for names, locations, others like him. She gave them nothing. Just looked at him with those steady gray eyes and whispered, "Don't let this make you cruel." He'd burned the hunter compound to ash that night. Killed every last one. Then he'd established the first rules of the masquerade. No exposure, no exceptions, no love between worlds. His court would survive in the shadows through careful control and absolute secrecy. No human would ever again die because a vampire had been foolish enough to believe in connection. For 200 years, it had worked. His vampires fed on willing donors, humans who came to exclusive parties, drank wine laced with mild euphoria, and woke the next morning with hazy memories and puncture marks they mistook for particularly enthusiastic hickeys.
Clean.
Controlled. Sustainable. The police in his territory saw the lowest violent crime rates in the state because Damien's network eliminated threats before they metastasized. He'd built an empire on Eleanor's grave. Called it protection. Called it justice. But tonight, holding her pendant while Jada Maddox lay in a hospital bed with his blood in her veins, Damien finally names it what it truly is: cowardice. The masquerade isn't about protecting humanity. It's about protecting himself from ever feeling that helpless again. Victor knows it too. That's why he chose a cop. That's why he left her alive just long enough for Damien to find her. A test.
Adare.
Save her, old king, and break your sacred rule. Or let her die and prove you've finally become the monster Eleanor died believing you weren't. Damien closes his fist around the pendant, feeling silver sear his palm. Outside, the city breathes in ignorant safety, never knowing the war being waged in its shadows. He's spent 2 centuries ensuring that safety. But for the first time since Eleanor's death, he wonders if safety bought with isolation is really protection at all, or just another form of death, slower and more certain than any stake through the heart. Jada's eyes snap, open to a world on fire. Every fluorescent bulb burns like a supernova. The nurse's footsteps in the corridor 3 rooms down sound like thunder. She can smell everything: disinfectant, latex, the metallic tang of O-negative blood being transported past her door, the synthetic strawberry scent of someone's lip balm, the coffee brewing on the 4th floor. 4th floor. She's on the 2nd. Steady. Captain Reyes materializes beside the bed, palm raised. Don't try to sit up yet. But Jada's already moving, swinging her legs over the side with strength that shouldn't exist after losing half her blood volume. The 4 tears free. She doesn't feel it. She's too busy staring at her hands in the dim room, except it's not dim anymore. She can see every line in her palm, every hair follicle, the subtle flush of blood beneath skin. What did they give me? Her voice sounds too loud in her own ears. Nothing. Reyes pulls a chair close, her heartbeat suddenly deafening.
Steady.
Controlled. The rhythm of someone delivering practiced bad news. Jada, what do you remember about the warehouse? Flashes. Claw marks on metal. Eyes that reflected red in the darkness. A voice promising she wouldn't die, accent thick with centuries. Pale hands. Sharp teeth.
No.
Jada stands, backing toward the window. No, that's not. That's blood loss, trauma, hallucination. You were clinically dead for 4 minutes. Reyes opens a tablet, fingers flying. Your wounds closed within 90 minutes of arrival. Cellular regeneration the CDC has no precedent for. Blood work showing compounds that don't exist in human biology. She turns the screen. Jada sees crime scene photos she's never been cleared for. Bodies drained of blood, puncture wounds on necks, security footage of figures moving too fast for cameras to track properly. Case files marked classified. Dates going back decades. I run the Supernatural Liaison Office, Reyes says quietly. Created 15 years ago after the 3rd Street Massacre, when something killed 8 gang members in under 30 seconds. We've been managing threats most people don't believe in, can't be allowed to believe in. Jada's gripping the window frame hard enough to crack it. She loosens her hold, staring at the splintered wood. What saved you wasn't human, Reyes continues. And now neither are you, not entirely. The blood he gave you is changing you. Temporarily. Your senses, reflexes, strength, they'll fade in a few weeks. But right now, you're somewhere between what you were and what he is. He. Jada's voice comes out flat. The thing that attacked me, or the thing that saved me? Different things. Same species. Reyes stands, pockets the tablet.
Get dressed.
We need to run baseline tests before the enhancement fades. 20 minutes later, Jada stands in a converted training facility 2 floors below the hospital, facing a combat dummy. Captain Reyes watches from behind reinforced glass. A speaker crackles. Don't think. Just react. The dummy swings. Pneumatic arm moving 60 miles per hour, fast enough to shatter ribs. Jada doesn't remember deciding to move. One moment the padded fist is arcing toward her face. The next she's 3 feet to the left, the dummy's arm whistling through empty air where her head used to be. Silence. Then Reyes's voice, steady as a judge delivering sentence. Again. The dummy comes from behind this time, no warning. Jada spins, catches the arm mid-swing, and the impact that should have sent her flying just stops. She's holding 300 pounds of mechanical force like it weighs nothing. Welcome to the war, Officer Maddox, Reyes says through the intercom. Now, let me introduce you to the thing that saved your life. Because if Victor Soren's declared open season on cops, we're going to need his help to survive. The estate sits behind iron gates in the historic district, a Gothic revival mansion that looks like it grew from the earth rather than being built upon it. Jada's enhanced senses catch everything as they approach. The aged stone, the scent of old paper and older wood, something metallic and cold beneath it all.
Death.
The place smells like beautiful, patient death. Reyes does a knock. A man in an immaculate suit opens the door before they reach it, his eyes never quite meeting theirs. The master is in the library. The interior could be a museum. Persian rugs worth more than Jada's annual salary. Oil paintings in gilded frames, subjects dressed in clothes from centuries past. A grandfather clock ticking out seconds it's probably counted since before her great-grandparents were born. Then she sees him. Damien Crowford stands before floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, backlit by firelight, holding a leather-bound volume like it weighs nothing. Because to him, it probably doesn't. He's exactly as she remembers from those fragmented moments in the alley. Pale hair pulled back, features too perfect to be human, eyes that have seen empires rise and fall. He closes the book without marking his place. Officer Maddox, you're looking remarkably alive. What did you do to me? Jada's across the room before she realizes she's moved, her new speed making the distance irrelevant. I can hear your heartbeat. Except you don't have one. I can smell blood 3 rooms away. I caught a pneumatic arm moving 60 miles per hour like it was a beach ball. I gave you a choice you weren't conscious enough to make. Damien sets the book down with deliberate care. Die in that alley, or live with my blood temporarily altering your biology. I chose the latter. You're welcome to be angry about it. Temporarily? Jada glances at Reyes, who nods confirmation. 3 weeks, perhaps 4. Then you'll return to baseline human. Fragile. Mortal. Something flickers across his expression. Vulnerable to things like Victor Soren. The one who attacked me. The one who spent the last decade building a rogue faction that believes the masquerade is cowardice. He wants vampires to rule openly. Humans as livestock. The old ways. Damien moves to the fireplace, his reflection conspicuously absent in the mirror above it. Victor Soren wants to expose our kind. He believes humans should kneel. And you? Jada presses. What do you believe? That coexistence requires invisibility. That exposure means war. That war means extinction for both our species. He speaks like he's reciting facts, not opinions. I've maintained peace in this city for 3 centuries through very simple rules. Feed without killing, turn no one without permission, and never let humans know we exist. Jada's eyes drift to the portrait above the fireplace. A young woman in an 1820s dress, dark hair pinned elegantly, gray eyes intelligent and kind. The artist captured something in her expression, fearless curiosity, like she was looking at the painter with complete understanding. Who was she? The temperature in the room seems to drop. Damien stares at the portrait like it's showing him something Jada can't see. When he finally speaks, his voice has lost its commanding edge, becoming something quieter and infinitely more dangerous. Eleanor Marsh, a physician's daughter. She was 23 when vampire hunters burned her alive for refusing to betray me. His hand touches his chest, where Jada knows the pendant rests beneath his shirt. She died because I was foolish enough to believe love could bridge our worlds. I won't make that mistake again. Silence settles like snow. Reyes shifts uncomfortably. Victor sent his people after you specifically, Damien continues, turning from the portrait. He wanted me to face this choice, save a human and risk everything I've built, or let you die and prove I've become what Eleanor feared I might. So tell me, Officer Maddox, now that you're alive and temporarily extraordinary, was I wrong to choose? Reyes spreads the files across Damien's mahogany desk like a coroner laying out evidence. Crime scene photos, missing persons reports, surveillance footage time-stamped over the last 6 months. Jada leans in, her enhanced vision catching details she would have missed a week ago. The patterns, the connections, the systematic escalation. 17 missing persons in the warehouse district alone. Reyes taps a cluster of red pins on the map. All young, healthy, no families asking questions. Homeless, undocumented workers, sex workers. People society doesn't look for. Damien picks up one of the photos. A woman, maybe 19, last seen near the docks. His jaw tightens. Blood farming. Victor's building a supply network. For what? Jada asks. An army. He sets the photo down with controlled precision. Newly turned vampires are feral for 72 hours. Uncontrollable. Hungry. Victor's been creating them in batches, keeping them sedated in these locations until he's ready to deploy them. Reyes pulls up footage on her tablet, grainy security camera recording from a convenience store robbery 2 nights ago. The suspect moves in bursts of impossible speed, rips the cash register from its bolts like cardboard, and when the clerk reaches for the panic button, the suspect is across the room in a frame skip of motion. Red eyes. Extended fangs. Gone before police arrive. We found him 3 hours later in a condemned building, still feeding on a homeless man, Reyes says. Took 8 officers to bring him down. He didn't respond to pain, commands, nothing. Just kept trying to bite through the restraints. Where is he now? Damien's tone has gone cold. Morgue. Died in custody. Spontaneous cardiac arrest, according to the Me. But the body was desiccated when we found it. Like something drained all the moisture out. Victor killed him remotely. Damien stands, begins pacing. Blood bond. When a maker wants to eliminate evidence, they can sever the connection. The newly turned die instantly. No witnesses, no testimony. Jada watches him move. Predatory grace. Every step calculated. How many others has he made, based on missing persons in his territory? Damien's eyes go distant, calculating. 50. Maybe more. The number sits like a bomb in the room. 50 feral vampires. 50 weapons waiting to detonate. Reyes swipes to another file. We intercepted this communication from a dark web server 3 days ago. She reads aloud. The Revelation event proceeds as planned. Target confirmed. New Year's Eve celebration, City Plaza. Estimated crowd, 60,000. Coverage, every major network. The Old King's masquerade ends when the world watches us feed. Jada's blood goes cold. He's going to attack the New Year's broadcast. Live television. Smartphones everywhere. 60,000 witnesses. And once the footage goes viral, there's no containing it. Damien's hands flatten on the desk, ancient wood groaning under the pressure. Humans learn we exist.
Panic.
Violence. Governments mobilize. Vampires retaliate. Within 72 hours, every major city becomes a war zone. We evacuate. Jada says immediately. Cancel the event. Lock down the plaza. And Victor moves to target 2, then 3, then 4. Reyes shakes her head. We've monitored his network. He's got contingencies at 6 major events across 3 states. We shut down New Year's. He hits the championship game 2 days later. Then the concert. Then the marathon. He only needs one to succeed. Damien turns from the desk, his expression carved from stone. You want me to help you stop him? You're the only one who can. Reyes meets his stare without flinching. You know his tactics, his weaknesses, how he thinks. You've been fighting rogue factions for 3 centuries. And I've survived 3 centuries by never fighting human wars. Damien's voice drops to something dangerous. The moment I take sides openly, I become exactly what Victor wants. Proof that vampires are choosing sides in human affairs. This isn't a human war. Jada cuts in. This is your war. Victor's attacking cops because we work with you. He's building his army in your territory. He's planning to destroy the masquerade you've spent 200 years protecting. Damien looks at her, really looks like he's seeing past the enhanced strength to the woman underneath. Something shifts in his expression. Resignation. Or perhaps recognition. If I do this, he says slowly, I set conditions. I provide intelligence. Strategy. I do not fight your wars directly. I do not make more vampires. And when this ends, Officer Maddox returns to normal human life, far from this world. Agreed, Reyes says immediately. Jada opens her mouth to protest, but Damien's already moving toward a hidden panel in the wall. It slides open to reveal a tactical display, digital map of the city, overlaid with glowing markers. Victor has 5 primary locations, he begins, his tone shifting to command. Blood dens, training facilities, and 1 central stronghold I've never been able to breach. We start by cutting off his supply lines. Then we burn his operation to the ground before New Year's Eve. He turns back to them, and for the first time, Jada sees what 3 centuries of war looks like in a man's eyes. Welcome to the underground, Captain. Officer Maddox. The ghost of a smile crosses his face. Try not to die. The training facility occupies an abandoned parking garage beneath the financial district, requisitioned through channels Jada suspects don't appear in any official budget. 12 officers stand in tactical gear, handpicked by Reyes from units across the city. Veterans.
SWAT.
Narcotics. The best the force has to offer. They're all staring at Damien like he's a ghost. Silver disrupts our cellular structure, he says, pacing before them with military precision. Not fatally, but enough to incapacitate. Bullets won't kill us unless they destroy the brain stem or heart completely. Decapitation works. So does fire, though we heal faster than you'd expect. He stops, letting that sink in. UV light in concentrated doses causes immediate tissue damage. Sunlight is slower, but just as effective. We evolved as nocturnal apex predators. Everything about our biology reinforces that. Officer Chin raises a hand. What about the religious stuff? Crosses, holy water. Superstition. Damien's tone is flat. We're not demons. We're a separate species that shares your evolutionary tree until approximately 40,000 years ago. Faith has no biological effect on us. But garlic does? Another officer, Rodriguez, sounds skeptical. Concentrate allicin compound causes respiratory distress. Same way pepper spray affects you. Uncomfortable, not lethal. Damien pulls a retractable baton from the weapons rack. Your real advantage is speed of response. We're faster than you, stronger than you, but we're not invincible. Victor's newly turned vampires will be feral. They'll attack in straight lines, no tactical awareness. Use that. He demonstrates on a training dummy movements sharp and clinical. Strike here for temporary paralysis. Here for disorientation. Aim for the eyes if you can. We heal, but not instantly. Buy yourself seconds to retreat or reinforce. Jada watches him work, noting how he never mentions going for the kill. Only disable. Escape.
Survive.
Mesmerism. Damien continues, turning back to the group. We can influence weak-willed or intoxicated humans through sustained eye contact and vocal command. It requires concentration. If you're under fire, we can't maintain it. Break line of sight, stay moving, keep your head clear. He pulls Officer Martinez forward. Look at me. Martinez hesitates, then meets Damien's gaze. His pupils dilate. His breathing slows. Take one step back, Damien says softly. Martinez steps back. Now remember you're a trained officer with 15 years of experience who doesn't take orders from civilians. Martinez blinks, shakes his head, stumbles slightly.
Jesus.
That felt like your thoughts weren't entirely your own. Damien releases him. That's why you work in pairs minimum. Partner stays alert, breaks the contact if needed. They run through scenarios for hours. Simulated ambushes using paint rounds and motion sensors. Close quarters combat against opponents moving at enhanced speeds, Damien himself, pulling his punches, but not his velocity. Officers go down hard, get back up, adapt. Then Martinez goes into the kill house. The simulation triggers, pneumatic arms swinging from blind corners, sensors tracking reaction times. He clears the first two threats, pivots for the third. The fourth comes from above. Too fast. Martinez doesn't see it, but Jada does. She's across the floor before conscious thought catches up, yanking him back by his tactical vest. The pneumatic arm whistles past his face close enough to graze his cheek. Silence. Martinez is breathing hard, staring at her. The other officers look stunned. Damien stands in the observation area, utterly still. His expression is unreadable, something between recognition and regret, like he's seeing a memory overlaid on the present moment. Training ends at 0300. Officers file out exhausted, shell-shocked, but competent. Jada stays behind, watching Damien dismantle the equipment with methodical precision. You could have let him get hit, she says finally. It was a training exercise. Padding, safety protocols. Reflex. Damien doesn't look up. You see someone about to be hurt, you react. That's what makes you different from them. From Victor's people. From most of mine. He sets down the equipment case. We spend so long surviving that we forget what it's like to protect. You haven't. Jada leans against the wall, letting the question form. Why do you still do it? Save humans. After what they did to Eleanor, after 2 centuries of hiding, after everything, why do you care? Damien is quiet for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice carries the weight of every year he's lived. Because she would have wanted me to. And because some things are worth protecting, even if they fear you. Especially if they fear you. He finally looks at her, and his eyes are ancient and tired and unbearably sad. Fear doesn't negate worth, Officer Maddox. It just makes protection more necessary. He picks up his coat, heads for the exit. Pauses at the threshold. You saved Martinez tonight without hesitation. That's who you are. Don't let what's happening to you change that. He glances back. Even when the enhancement fades and you're fragile again, remember you were always capable of this. The blood just made it visible. Then he's gone, leaving Jada alone in the empty garage with the echo of wisdom earned across 3 centuries and the uncomfortable realization that she's starting to understand him, starting to trust him, starting to see the man Eleanor loved beneath the monster the world feared. The first location is a shuttered nightclub in the meatpacking district. Damien's intelligence is precise: floor plans, guard rotations, the number of captives held in the sublevel. The task force moves at 0400 when Victor's people are at their weakest, dawn approaching fast enough to limit escape routes. Jada breaches with the first team, her enhanced senses painting the darkness in shades of gray. She smells them immediately: 12 humans, terrified, drugged, and 3 vampires trying to blend with the captives, but their stillness giving them away.
No heartbeat. No breath.
Just predatory patience. 3 hostiles north corner, she whispers into comms, pretending to be victims. The takedown is clean. Silver-tipped restraints, UV floodlights. The vampires go down without casualties. 12 people freed, blinking in the lights, confused but alive. The second raid, a warehouse near the port, goes even better. 20 captives. 5 vampires captured. Damien's information holds perfect. Jada's starting to understand his network. 3 centuries of accumulated knowledge, every weakness cataloged, every hiding place mapped. The third location is supposed to be routine. It's an abandoned apartment complex, scheduled for demolition. Martinez takes point with Chun and Officer Brooks, a rookie, transferred from patrol only 3 weeks ago. 23 years old. Kid still has academy shine on his badge. Jada clears the first floor, senses stretched. She catches movement on the 3rd floor, too fast and human. Contact 3rd floor. Multiple hostiles. But it's a trap. The floor collapses as their team enters, rotted wood giving way to a sublevel that shouldn't exist. Vampires surge from the darkness, feral and starving. New turns. Victor's army, barely controlled. The firefight is chaos. UV flashbangs, silver rounds, officers calling targets over screaming comms. Jada drops 3 vampires, her enhanced speed the only thing keeping her team alive. She sees Martinez go down under 2 attackers, rolls to cover him, empties her magazine point blank. Then she hears Brooks scream. He's pinned in the corner, a vampire's teeth locked on his throat. Not feeding, turning. The deliberate injection of venom that rewrites human biology. Chun pulls the vampire off, puts Silver through its chest, but the damage is done. Brooks collapses, convulsing. His eyes roll back. The change is already beginning. Medevac now. Martinez is shouting, dragging Brooks toward the exit. Jada keys her radio with shaking hands.
Damien.
We have an officer down. He's been turned. We need. Get him into darkness. Damien's voice is ice. Restrain him. Silver chains.
I'm en route.
They extract to a secured location, a condemned office building Reyes prepared as a fallback position. Brooks is strapped to a reinforced chair, still seizing, his skin already paling, veins darkening beneath the surface. His vital signs are failing on the monitor, heart rate erratic, temperature dropping. Damien arrives as dawn breaks. He takes one look at Brooks, and his expression closes like a vault door. How long? Reyes asks. 6 hours since exposure. He's past the threshold. Damien kneels beside the chair, studying Brooks with clinical detachment. The venom has rewritten his cardiovascular system. His human consciousness will be suppressed for 72 hours. When he wakes, he'll be feral, uncontrollable, dangerous to everyone including himself. There's no cure. Martinez's voice cracks. Nothing. The change is irreversible. Damien stands, and Victor holds his blood bond. The moment he learns this one survived, he'll sever the connection remotely. The death will be agonizing. Brooks stirs, his eyes snapping open. They're blood red. When he speaks, his voice is distorted, inhuman.
Hungry.
So hungry. I can smell you. All of you. Let me. He strains against the chains hard enough to crack the chair frame. We can sedate him, Jada says desperately. Keep him controlled until we capture Victor. Break the bond. Officer Maddox. Damien's tone is gentle. Terrible. Look at him. She does. Brooks is thrashing now, foam at his mouth, skin splitting where the chains bite. His humanity is drowning in instinct. Whatever made him the young officer with dreams of detective sergeant is being consumed by something older and infinitely more brutal. This is Victor's message, Damien says quietly. This is what he'll do to every officer who stands against him. Turn you. Use you as weapons. Then kill you remotely when you're no longer useful. He draws a slender knife from his coat, silver blade, ancient design.
No.
Jada steps between him and Brooks. There has to be another way. There isn't. Damien meets her eyes, and she sees 2 centuries of exactly this choice reflected back. I can make it quick, painless, or we can wait for Victor to sever the bond and watch him die screaming over 6 hours. Those are the options. Silence. Brooks is sobbing now, his voice breaking between snarls. Kill me. Please. I don't want to, I can't. Martinez turns away. Reyes stares at the floor. Damien moves past Jada. His hand is steady as he places the blade at the base of Brooks's skull. You served with honor, officer. You'll be remembered. One clean motion. Brooks goes still. The monitors flatline. Damien cleans the blade on his coat, sheathes it without ceremony. When he speaks, his voice is empty. This is why I walk alone, Officer Maddox. Every connection is a potential tragedy. Every person you care about becomes a target. Every victory costs you pieces you can't get back. He looks at the team, their grief, their rage, their helplessness. Immortality means watching everyone you protect eventually die. Usually because you weren't fast enough, strong enough, smart enough to save them. He walks to the exit, pauses at the door. We end Victor before New Year's. Not for justice. Not for peace. But so no one else has to make this choice. The door closes. Jada stares at Brooks's body, at the young officer who'll never make detective, never grow old, never go home. And she finally understands what 3 centuries of this has done to Damien Crowford. Why he builds walls. Why he demands distance. Why Eleanor's death still haunts him. Because the alternative, caring and losing, over and over across centuries, is a torture worse than any stake through the heart. The intelligence comes through encrypted channels, a warehouse near the old subway terminus, Victor's main staging ground for the New Year's attack. Reyes takes a team of 8. They never make it back. The video arrives at 2,100 hours. Victor's face fills the screen, all sharp angles and predatory confidence. Behind him, Reyes and her officers kneel with silver chains around their throats, the metal burning their skin just enough to keep them compliant. Damien Crowford, Victor announces, like he's addressing a board meeting rather than declaring war. You have until midnight. Surrender your throne, or I broadcast everything. The feeding, the turning, the centuries of lies. Let humanity watch what we truly are. The feed cuts to a camera setup, professional grade, multiple angles. This isn't a bluff. It's a production. Damien stands in his study, staring at the blank screen. His hands are completely still. He's baiting me. The moment I enter that location, he triggers the broadcast anyway. Proof that vampires exist, fighting each other over human prey. Then we don't send you. Jada moves to the tactical display, her enhanced vision already mapping entry points. I can get in. I still have enough of your blood in my system to mask as one of us turned. He won't sense the difference.
No.
The word comes out flat. final. Damien. I will not lose another, he stops. The pendant burns against his chest. 2 centuries of the same fear, the same paralysis. He forces himself to meet her eyes. Be careful. She infiltrates through the old maintenance tunnels, her fading enhancements just strong enough to let her move in darkness. The underground lair is exactly as Damien described, converted subway station, Victor's makeshift throne room. Reyes and the others are chained near the cameras, conscious but restrained. Victor sits on his throne, a grotesque construction of scavenged metal and bone. Above it, barely visible in the shadows, hangs an ornate silver chain, decorative, or so it seems. Jada's earpiece crackles. Damien's voice, steady as stone. He doesn't know you're there. Wait for my signal. Victor begins his monologue for the cameras, pacing before his captives. Tonight, the masquerade ends. Tonight, humanity learns. Still making speeches, Victor? Damien's voice echoes through speakers Jada planted. You always did love an audience. Victor's head snaps up. The old king finds his voice. Come to surrender. Come to remind you why I've ruled for 3 centuries. Damien's tone is ice. You've gone soft, Victor, relying on theatrics. I've built empires while you hid in shadows. You've gone soft.
Victor Schnarch.
Caring for another fragile human. I know about the cop, Damien. I know you fed her your blood. Just like Eleanor. You never learn. He positions himself directly beneath his throne, center stage for the cameras. Perfect angle. Perfect shot. Now, Damien whispers through comms. Jada fires. The chain severs. The silver net, Victor's own trap, meant for Damien, drops like judgment. Victor screams as UV floods activate, the lights he installed for dramatic effect becoming his prison.
Yada moves fast, releasing Reis.
0 casualties. The mission clock reads 23:47. 13 minutes to midnight. Damien arrives as the last officer is freed. Victor lies weakened, his skin marked but healing. He spits words through damaged vocal cords. You betray your own kind for cattle. Damien kneels beside him, his voice carrying the weight of every year he's lived.
No.
I fulfill my responsibility as king, to all my subjects, blood and breath alike. That's what you never understood. Power without purpose is just tyranny, and tyranny always falls. He stands, leaving Victor for the authorities, for justice, for the world he spent 3 centuries protecting. Outside, dawn approaches. For the first time in 200 years, Damien doesn't fear what it might bring. The ceremony takes place in a conference room that officially doesn't exist, 3 floors below police headquarters. No media. No public record. Just 30 people who know the truth about what walks in the shadows and what it takes to keep both worlds safe. Captain Reyes stands before a memorial case, her voice steady despite everything they've survived. The Night Watch Initiative is now operational, a permanent alliance between human law enforcement and our protective partners in the supernatural community. Damien stands beside Jada in the back, uncomfortable with the recognition but present nonetheless. He's wearing a suit that could have come from any era of the last 3 centuries, timeless and perfectly fitted. Jada steps forward when Reyes calls her name. In her hands, she carries the silver pendant, Eleanor's pendant, the one Damien has carried for 200 years. She places it carefully in the memorial case, alongside Officer Brooks's badge and the commendations of others who died protecting both worlds. For those we couldn't save, Jada says quietly, and for those who taught us what protection really means. Damien's expression fractures for just a moment. Then he nods once, and something ancient in his eyes finally finds rest. 1 year later, the city has changed in ways only a few can see. Damien's private security consulting firm occupies a renovated building in the historic district, his cover for the advisory work that never stops. The brass plate beside the door reads Crowford and Associates in understated elegance. Jada arrives at dusk, now wearing commander insignia. Her enhancements faded months ago, but she chose to stay as primary liaison. Some partnerships transcend biology. She finds him on the balcony, watching the sun paint the sky in shades of amber and gold. She places a file folder on the table between them. The hunter cult that killed Eleanor, she says without preamble. We found their descendants. Modern incarnation, calling themselves Purity Watch. They've been targeting supernatural human cooperation efforts. Arrested this morning on federal hate crime charges. Damien picks up the file with hands that don't shake. He reads in silence, then sets it down gently. It's over. It's over, Jada confirms. They stand there as the sun slips below the horizon, the moment when day surrenders to night, the moment that used to represent everything Damien had lost. Now, it just marks the beginning of another shift. You never stopped being a king, Jada observes. You just found a kingdom worth ruling. Damien allows himself a rare smile, the kind that reaches his ancient eyes. And you never stopped being a protector. You simply expanded who you protect. As darkness settles, they move inside to review case files together. Immortal and mortal, vampire and human, working side by side at his mahogany desk, the same desk where they first formed this unlikely alliance. Through the window, Eleanor's pendant gleams in its place of honor at headquarters, alongside badges and commendations and the proof that some bridges can be built between worlds. Damien glances at Jada, then back at the files. His voice is quiet but certain. Not hiding anymore. Not alone anymore. Not ever. She nods, uncapping her pen. Never again. They work until dawn, protecting the fragile peace they built together. Purpose found. Past honored. Future embraced. The masquerade holds. But now it's not about hiding. It's about harmony. If you enjoyed this story, if Damien and Jada's journey reminded you that protection transcends fear and purpose can be found even after centuries of loss, then hit that like button, share this story, and subscribe to join us for more stories that explore the shadows between worlds, where the extraordinary meets the everyday, and where every ending is just another beginning.